8 hours later, the emergency doors finally opened. Rescue teams rushed into the biodome, expecting to find the participants in critical condition. Instead, they found them sitting in a circle inside a well-constructed snow shelter, sharing stories. Jiho was telling the aliens about Earth's diverse environments. The aliens listened with genuine interest, their earlier dismissal of humans completely gone. On Earth, we have places where it rains nearly every day, and places where it might not rain for years, Jiho explained. We have forests so dense, you can't see the sky, and plains so wide you can see for kilometers in every direction. How do humans adapt to so many different conditions? Asked the Denduri diplomat. We share knowledge, Jiho replied. We learn from those who came before us. My grandmother taught me skills that her grandmother taught her. We pass down stories about survival, about reading nature's signs, about finding food and water in difficult places. The rescue team leader, a tall Mektari, stood at the shelter entrance in obvious surprise. You are all well? Tholos rose to his full height, all 4 arms moving in a gesture of respect. We are well, thanks to the human diplomat. The biodome crisis was over. As they were escorted back to the main station, news of what had happened spread quickly. Aliens gathered to watch them pass, whispering among themselves about how the human had saved the diplomats. Da-hyun was waiting at the medical center. She rushed to Jiho with relief clear on her face. You did it, she said quietly. The whole station is talking about it. Jiho smiled tiredly. I just did what any human would do in that situation. That's exactly the point, Da-hyun said. What's ordinary for us is extraordinary to them. After medical checks confirmed everyone was healthy, Jiho was called to meet with the station commander, a senior Pelk who oversaw all diplomatic activities on Concordat Central. Deputy Park, the commander said, antenna moving slowly. Your actions during the biodome malfunction were unexpected. I just applied Earth survival knowledge, Jiho replied simply. Yes, Earth survival knowledge. The commander's antenna twitched. We have been reviewing Earth's classification in our databases. It seems there may have been some oversights. Jiho kept his face neutral, though inside he felt a surge of hope. Ambassador Tholos has requested a formal reclassification review, the commander continued. He believes Earth has been misunderstood by the Concordat. 3 days later, Jiho stood in the grand meeting hall. All 12 species of the Concordat were represented. The observation balconies were filled with alien spectators, many trying to get a glimpse of the small human who had changed their understanding of Earth. Ambassador Tholos entered, looking fully recovered. He approached Jiho and made a formal bow, a human gesture he must have studied. Deputy Park, Tholos said, his voice carrying through the hall. The Concordat owes you thanks for your actions in the biodome. You saved lives at risk to your own. I did what any human would do, Jiho replied. That is precisely what we have come to understand, Tholos said. What seems extraordinary to us is ordinary for humans, because Earth has shaped your species in ways we did not comprehend. The Concordat's chief scientist, a Gelax with a translucent body filled with swirling lights, stepped forward with a holographic display. We have reviewed all data on Earth environments, the scientist announced. Previous classifications focused on temperate regions and human technological centers. We failed to account for Earth's extreme variations in climate, its high frequency of natural disasters, and its remarkable biodiversity, including many species that humans consider dangerous. The hologram showed images of Earth, hurricanes, volcanoes, deserts, blizzards, and various predators. By Concordat standards, the scientist continued, Earth's combination of environmental hazards would qualify it as a Class 1 death world. However, this classification does not account for the unique adaptability that such conditions have fostered in its dominant species. Jiho felt a strange pride hearing Earth described this way. What had seemed normal to him, preparing for different seasons, watching for dangerous plants and animals, respecting nature's power, was apparently extraordinary in the galactic community. The station commander stepped forward. The Concordat Classification Committee has created a new planetary category, Class 1 Adaptive World. Earth is the first planet to receive this designation, recognizing both its challenging conditions and the remarkable adaptability of its people. Applause rippled through the hall, a mix of different sounds from the various species. Jiho bowed his head in acknowledgement. Ambassador Tholos raised all 4 hands for silence. In light of this new understanding, the matter of the Orion Arm trade route has been reconsidered. The Concordat formally approves Earth's petition for regular access. Jiho could hardly believe what he was hearing. The trade route would transform Earth's economy, bringing prosperity to the colonies that had been struggling. Furthermore, Tholos continued, the Concordat wishes to establish a new diplomatic exchange program. We seek to learn from humans about adaptability, survival, and cooperation in challenging conditions. In return, we offer knowledge from our 1,000-year history among the stars. After the ceremony, Jiho found Dahyun waiting at the back of the hall. Her eyes were bright with emotion. You did more than secure a trade route, she said. You changed how they see us. We did it together, Jiho replied. Your knowledge made this possible. Dahyun smiled. I've just received news from Earth Command. They're creating a new diplomatic division, Adaptive Skills Exchange. They want us both to lead it. Jiho looked around at the aliens who now viewed humans with respect rather than dismissal. I think my grandmother would approve. 1 month later, Jiho stood at a viewing window overlooking the repaired biodome. A new sign at its entrance read, Earth Environmental Training Center. Inside, alien diplomats and scientists were learning human survival techniques, taught by instructors from various Earth regions. Ambassador Tholos joined him at the window. The Vrul diplomat was less intimidating now that Jiho knew him better. Your Earth Skills program has more applicants than any diplomatic course in Concordat history, Tholos said. People are always interested in learning how to survive, Jiho replied. Before this, the Concordat valued size, strength, and technological advancement, Tholos said thoughtfully. We never considered adaptability as a strength. Humans have always known that size doesn't determine survival, Jiho said. It's the ability to adapt, to work together, to pass knowledge from generation to generation. In the biodome below, a human instructor was showing a group of aliens how to create fire using simple tools. The aliens watched with fascination, their previous arrogance replaced by genuine respect. Your grandmother's teaching saved my life, Tholos said suddenly. In our culture, this creates a debt that cannot be repaid. Jiho smiled. In human culture, we don't consider it a debt. We call it friendship. Tholos was quiet for a moment, considering this concept. Then he extended one of his 4 hands, a human gesture of friendship that must have felt strange to him. Jiho took the offered hand, his own looking tiny in comparison. The difference in their size no longer seemed important. From a death world comes life-saving wisdom, Tholos said, formally. The Concordat will not forget this lesson. As Earth ships began their first official journeys through the newly opened Orion Arm route, Jiho thought about how far they had come. Humans were no longer seen as weak curiosities from a garden world. They were respected as survivors from a challenging planet, adaptable, resourceful, and willing to share their knowledge with the Galax. The mountain zone was cold and windy. Snow covered the ground and the air felt thin. Jiho took deep breaths, adjusting to the conditions. It reminded him of winters in his grandmother's village. The air here is insufficient, complained the Mektari diplomat, his breathing labored. It's similar to high mountains on Earth, Jiho explained. The higher you go, the less oxygen there is in the air. Your body needs to adjust. How high are Earth mountains? Asked the Dendari, who was wrapping her plant-like limbs around herself for warmth. Our tallest mountain is about 9 kilometers high, Jiho said. Humans have climbed it without breathing equipment, though it's dangerous. Impossible, declared Tholos. No intelligent species would evolve to survive such conditions. Humans didn't evolve to live on mountains, Jiho corrected. We adapted. We learned to prepare for the conditions and change our behavior. The group began moving through the snowy landscape. The path narrowed as they climbed higher. The larger, Aliens struggled on the steep, slippery ground while Jiho moved with careful, measured steps. Look for footholds, Jiho advised. Test the snow before you put your full weight on it. There could be hidden holes or weak spots. As they climbed, the wind grew stronger. The temperature dropped further. 2 of the aliens were showing signs of severe cold stress, their movements becoming slow and uncoordinated. Jiho found a spot where rock formations created a natural windbreak. We should rest here, he called to the others. The cold will cause problems if we don't warm up regularly. Once they gathered in the protected area, Jiho quickly collected materials, branches from hardy mountain bushes, dry grass from under rock overhangs, and stones to create a fire ring. Soon, he had another fire burning. Your species seems obsessed with setting things on fire, observed the Galax diplomat, moving closer to the warmth. Fire has been important to humans for thousands of years, Jiho replied. It gives heat, light, protection, and a way to cook food. On Earth, controlling fire helped humans survive in places that would otherwise be too cold. The aliens huddled around the fire, their earlier arrogance replaced by grudging appreciation for Jiho's skills. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared throughout the biodome. Red warning lights flashed along the walls. Attention all biodome occupants, announced a mechanical voice. System malfunction detected. Emergency protocols activated. Please remain calm and await further instructions. The aliens looked at each other in confusion and concern. Jiho's comm device beeped. It was Da-hyun. Jiho, we have a problem. Her voice was tense. The biodome climate controls are malfunctioning. The system is stuck in a cooling cycle. The temperature in your zone is going to drop to dangerous levels. Can you fix it? Jiho asked. Engineering is working on it, but it will take at least 8 hours, Da-hyun replied. The extraction teams can't reach you because the emergency doors are sealed. You need to prepare for extreme cold. Jiho looked at the aliens around him. They were already suffering in the current temperature. If it got much colder, they might not survive. What temperatures are we expecting? He asked Da-hyun. -40 degrees, she said. Maybe lower. Jiho felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ambient temperature. -40 was dangerous even by Earth standards. I'll do what I can, he told Da-hyun, then ended the call. What is happening? Demanded Tholos. The biodome is malfunctioning, Jiho explained. The temperature is going to drop much lower. We need to prepare. We should call for extraction, said the Mektari diplomat. The emergency doors are sealed, Jiho replied. No one can reach us for at least 8 hours. We need to survive on our own until then. The aliens looked alarmed. Their species had never evolved to handle extreme cold. Jiho thought quickly. What would his grandmother do? She had lived through mountain winters where temperatures dropped well below freezing. She had taught him how to survive when caught in unexpected blizzards. We need a better shelter, he announced. Something that will hold heat. With what materials? Asked the Dendari, gesturing at the sparse mountain landscape. Jiho pointed to a snowdrift against a rock wall. Snow is actually a good insulator. We can build a shelter using snow blocks. The aliens watched in disbelief as Jiho began cutting blocks of compacted snow and arranging them in a circle. After some hesitation, they joined in, following his instructions. Their larger size and strength made moving the heavy snow blocks easier. Make the entrance small and facing away from the wind, Jiho directed. We want to keep warm air inside. Within an hour, they had built a dome-shaped shelter large enough for all of them. Jiho showed them how to smooth the inside walls to prevent dripping as their body heat warmed the interior. Now we need to insulate the floor, Jiho said. He collected branches and arranged them as a base layer, then covered them with his jacket. Everyone should contribute something. We need to create a barrier between our bodies and the cold ground. The aliens removed parts of their uniforms, creating a patchwork floor covering. The temperature continued to drop, but inside their shelter, it remained bearable. Impressive construction, admitted the Galax diplomat. Do all humans know how to build such shelters? Not all, Jiho said. But this knowledge still exists in our culture. We have many different ways to survive cold, passed down through generations. As night fell in the biodome, the full force of the malfunction became apparent. The temperature plummeted, frost formed on the outside of their shelter. The aliens huddled together for warmth. Jiho noticed that Tholos had separated himself from the group. The Vrul ambassador sat against the wall, his 6 eyes half closed, his breathing shallow. "Ambassador Tholos needs help," Jiho said, moving toward the large alien. "His species doesn't handle cold well." "Let him be," said one of the other diplomats. "He would not help you if the situation were reversed." Jiho shook his head. "That's not how humans survive. We help each other." He approached Tholos, who was now shivering violently. "Ambassador, you need to join the group. Shared body heat will help you survive." "I do not need human help," Tholos managed to say, though his voice was weak. "This isn't about pride," Jiho said firmly. "This is about survival. On Earth, even enemies will help each other in life-threatening conditions." When Tholos didn't respond, Jiho made a decision. Despite the Vrul being 3 times his size, Jiho grabbed one of Tholos's forearms and began pulling him toward the group. "Help me," Jiho called to the others. After a moment's hesitation, they moved to assist, dragging Tholos to the center of the shelter. Jiho checked Tholos's condition. The ambassador's skin was cold to the touch, and his breathing was becoming irregular. Clear signs of severe hypothermia. "We need to warm him quickly," Jiho said. He positioned himself against Tholos's side, sharing his body heat directly. "Everyone needs to help. If his core temperature drops much more, he won't survive." One by one, the other aliens joined them, pressing against Tholos from all sides. Jiho directed them to focus warmth on Tholos's core rather than his limbs. "On Earth, we learn these techniques for helping people with hypothermia," Jiho explained. "Warming the extremities too quickly can cause shock." Through the long, cold night, they maintained their position. Jiho kept checking Tholos's condition, adjusting their approach as needed. He used techniques his grandmother had taught him for treating frostbite and maintaining circulation in cold conditions. Slowly, Tholos's breathing stabilized. His skin began to warm. By morning, he was conscious again, his 6 eyes focusing on Jiho with a new expression, not contempt but something close to respect. "Why did you help me?" Tholos asked weakly. "I have shown you no kindness." "Because that's what humans do," Jiho replied simply. "We survive by working together, by sharing knowledge, by helping even those who might not help us in return." As dawn broke in the biodome, with the malfunction still ongoing but their shelter holding, the aliens looked at the small human in their midst with new understanding. They had entered the challenge expecting to prove human weakness. Instead, they were learning about a strength they had never considered before. The jungle was hot and wet. Water dripped from large leaves and the air felt thick to breathe. Jiho moved carefully, watching where he stepped. Behind him, the aliens crashed through the undergrowth, their large bodies breaking branches and crushing plants. "This environment is simple," announced Tholos, his voice carrying through the dense foliage. "My world has jungles much denser than this." Jiho said nothing. He was looking at the plants around him. Many were from Earth, exactly as he had requested. A smile formed on his face when he spotted a bamboo grove. The Diplomat, a plant-like being herself, touched one of the colorful flowers growing along the path. "What an interesting specimen. So delicate and—" "Don't touch that!" Jiho shouted, rushing over. The Dendari pulled back her leafy hand. "Why not, human? It's just a flower." "That's a trumpet lily from Earth," Jiho explained. "The pollen causes severe skin irritation to most species." The Dendari's flower face changed color slightly. "How do you know this?" "On Earth, children learn which plants are safe and which are dangerous," Jiho said. "That flower might look pretty, but it can cause a rash that lasts for days." The other aliens were watching now, some moving away from plants they had been examining. "The human tries to frighten us with tales of dangerous flowers," Tholos said with a laugh. Next, he will claim the trees can eat us. Not these trees, Jiho said calmly. But on Earth we have plants that can trap and digest small animals. We have trees with poison sap that causes blindness. We have vines that can grow 6 inches in a single day and choke other plants to death. The aliens looked at each other, uncertain if Jiho was telling the truth. A rumble of thunder sounded overhead. The biodome's weather system was creating a storm. Heavy drops of rain began to fall. We should find shelter, Jiho said, walking toward the bamboo grove. The rain will get worse. This? Tholos gestured at the falling water. This is nothing. On my world, we stand in acid rains that would melt your soft skin. It's not the rain itself, Jiho explained. It's what happens to the ground. As if, on cue, the jungle floor began to turn muddy. The larger aliens found their feet sinking into the soft earth. Jiho, being lighter, could still move easily. What is happening? Asked a Pelk diplomat, struggling to pull his foot from the mud. It's called mud, Jiho said. When soil gets wet, it becomes soft. On Earth, this is common after rain. You have to know how to move through it or you'll get stuck. Jiho reached the bamboo grove and began pulling and cutting stems with a small knife from his pocket. Within minutes, he had created a simple platform raised above the ground, with a slanted roof to keep off the rain. The aliens watched in surprise as Jiho worked quickly and efficiently, his hands moving with practiced skill. Where did you learn to do that? Asked a Miktari diplomat who had managed to reach a rocky area where the ground was still firm. My grandmother taught me, Jiho replied. In the mountains where I grew up, sudden storms are common. You learn to make shelter quickly, or you get very wet and cold. The rain fell harder. Water ran down the jungle floor, creating small streams. The aliens struggled to find firm footing. You may share my shelter if you wish, Jiho offered. Tholos made a sound of dismissal. I do not need help from a human. But 2 of the other diplomats accepted, squeezing their large frames under Jiho's bamboo roof. They watched with new interest as Jiho showed them how to reinforce the structure to hold their weight. You built this from memory? Asked the Dendari. Yes, Jiho said. On Earth, many people still know these old skills. Our world has storms, floods, fires, and earthquakes. We learn to adapt quickly. As night fell in the biodome, the temperature dropped dramatically. The aliens, used to worlds with stable temperatures, were unprepared for the sudden cold. Jiho collected certain leaves and sticks that he recognized, then used 2 stones to create sparks. Soon he had a small fire burning near his shelter. The aliens gathered around the fire, drawn to its warmth. Your species has not mastered temperature regulation technology? Asked a Gelax diplomat, his translucent body shivering slightly. We have, Jiho said, but we also remember how to make fire. On Earth, temperatures can change by 40 degrees between day and night in some places. Our ancestors survived by learning to create heat when they needed it. 40 degrees? The Gelax seemed shocked. That would kill most concordate species. Humans adapt, Jiho said simply. Our bodies can handle temperature changes that would stress other species. Throughout the night, Jiho showed the aliens how to find safe water, how to check for danger signs in their surroundings, and how to make basic tools from the jungle materials. By morning, when the biodome's lighting changed to simulate dawn, the aliens looked at Jiho with new eyes. We move to the next zone today, Tholos announced, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. The second zone was a desert, hot, dry, and seemingly empty of life. The aliens stepped into the harsh sunlight, their bodies immediately reacting to the heat. This environment tests endurance, said the Miktari diplomat. We must cross without water or shade. Jiho looked carefully at the landscape. He spotted the plants he had requested, small, tough desert growths that most would overlook. There is water here, he said, walking to a cactus-like plant. Using his knife, he carefully cut into the plant and collected the clear liquid inside. You're destroying the vegetation, protested the Dendari. I'm using it, Jiho corrected. This plant stores water. If you know how to extract it properly, you can drink without harming the plant's ability to survive. The aliens watched as Jiho demonstrated how to find water in what looked like a dead landscape. On my world, water is plentiful, said Tholos. We would never need to cut plants for drops of liquid. Earth has places where it doesn't rain for years, Jiho explained. Humans who live in these regions know how to find water in unexpected places. They know which plants store it, which rocks collect morning dew, which dry riverbeds might have water just below the surface. As the day progressed, the heat intensified. The aliens began to slow down, their large bodies struggling with temperature regulation. Jiho showed them how to create cover from the sun using minimal materials, how to cool their bodies by wetting specific points with the precious water they had collected. By the time they reached the end of the desert zone, the aliens were looking at Jiho with growing respect. The next zone is a mountain environment, announced Tholos, reading a message on his comm device. Cold and thin air. Jiho nodded, not showing his excitement. Mountains, just like where he grew up. This would be the easiest zone for him. As they rested at the transition point between zones, the Dendari approached Jiho. Your world? She said hesitantly. It really has all these different environments? Jungles? Deserts? Mountains? Yes, Jiho replied. Earth has frozen poles and burning deserts. It has oceans so deep that the pressure would crush your body. It has mountains so high that the air is too thin to breathe. It has storms that can flatten entire forests. And humans live in all these places? The Dendari asked, her flower face changing to show awe. We adapt, Jiho said. That's what humans do best. From across the rest area, Tholos was watching. His 6 eyes narrowed as he studied the small human who had surprised them all. The challenge was just beginning, but already something was changing. In the way the aliens saw Jiho, and the way they thought about Earth and its people. Lab 7 was small by station standards, but filled with plants from across the galaxy. Jiho arrived exactly on time, still wearing his too large diplomatic uniform. He found Dahyun bent over a workstation, studying something on a screen. You came, she said without looking up. Good. We have a lot to prepare and not much time. Jiho approached the workstation. On the screen was a map of the station's biodome, a massive structure divided into different zones. I've been working on the station for 3 years, Dahyun explained. Most alien scientists here think I study Earth plants because they're pretty. They don't realize I'm studying how deadly they are. She pressed a button and the screen changed to show images of common Earth plants. This is poison ivy. This is a deathcap mushroom. This is oleander. She pointed to each image. To us, these are dangers we learn about as children. To aliens from stable worlds, they're just green things. Jiho looked confused. How does this help me with the challenge? Dahyun smiled. The biodome challenge will have 5 zones. Each zone will simulate a different environment. The aliens have designed it to showcase their strengths, tolerance for different atmospheres, ability to go without water, resistance to radiation. I don't have any of those strengths, Jiho said. No, but you have something better. You're from Earth. Dahyun pulled up another screen. I've been studying the concordant classification system for planets. Do you know how they classify worlds? Jiho shook his head. Class 1 is a death world, extreme conditions, high rates of natural disasters, dangerous wildlife, unpredictable weather. Class 5 is a paradise world. Stable climate, few predators, abundant resources. She looked directly at Jiho. Earth is officially classified as Class 3, a garden world. But that's only because they measured the most hospitable regions. If they had looked at our deserts, oceans, and polar regions, Earth would be Class 1. Jiho's eyes widened. So the other species come from Class 4 and 5 worlds, Dahyun finished. They've never had to adapt to rapidly changing conditions. They've never experienced the range of temperatures, pressures, and dangers that Earth has. That's our advantage. But I'm a city diplomat, Jiho protested. I don't have survival skills. Dahyun looked at him for a long moment. Where did you grow up? Jiho hesitated. In a small mountain village before my family moved to the city. My grandmother still lives there. And did she teach you anything about the old ways? About living off the land? A memory flashed in Jiho's mind. His grandmother showing him how to find mushrooms in the forest, how to tell which were safe and which were poisonous, how to read weather patterns in the clouds, how to make shelter from branches. Yes, he admitted, but those are just country skills, not survival training. Those country skills are exactly what the aliens don't have, Da-hyun said firmly. Now, I've pulled some strings. The challenge rules allow each participant to request specific elements in the biodome. The aliens don't know Earth species, so they won't understand what you're asking for. She handed him a tablet. This is a list of Earth plants and materials to request. Some are useful, some are dangerous, but you'll know which is which. Jiho scrolled through the list. Bamboo, flintstones, certain berries, bark from specific trees. Simple things that any human child from his village would know how to use. One more thing, Da-hyun said, reaching into a drawer. She pulled out a small black case. This contains seeds from earth plants. Hide it in your boot. If you're in trouble, use them. The aliens won't recognize them as tools. Jiho took the case, uncertain. Is this cheating? It's adapting, Da-hyun corrected. That's what humans do best. The next morning, Jiho met with the challenge committee, a group of 7 aliens representing different concordate species. Ambassador Tholos stood at their center, looking down at Jiho with his 6 yellow eyes. The human has submitted requests for the biodome challenge, announced a Dendry official, her flower face tilting curiously. They are unusual. What does the small human want? Special air? Lower gravity? Asked a Pelk representative, antenna twitching with amusement. Just some plants from my world, Jiho said calmly. Since you get to choose the environments, it seems fair that I can request some familiar elements. Tholos studied the list. These seem harmless enough. Very well. Your earth plants will be added to the biodome. Who will participate in the challenge? Jiho asked. Myself, Tholos said, and 5 other diplomats. We will see how the human compares to the founding species of the concordate. Jiho nodded, keeping his face neutral. 6 aliens, all from worlds where survival was easy, all believing humans were weak. This would be interesting. News of the challenge spread through the station quickly. By afternoon, Jiho heard that aliens were placing bets on how quickly he would need to be rescued. No one was betting on the human to succeed. In his quarters, Jiho changed into the standard challenge uniform, a simple jumpsuit with multiple pockets. He carefully placed Da-hyun's seed case in his boot, then sat down to call Earth Command. The face of his superior appeared on the screen, looking worried. Deputy Park, you've created quite a situation. This challenge is far beyond your authority to agree to. I know, sir, Jiho replied, but they weren't going to give us fair consideration otherwise. The trade route is important, but not worth risking diplomatic relations or your life. I won't fail, Jiho said with more confidence than he felt. Humans are stronger than they think. His superior sighed. At least you've bought us time to prepare alternative proposals. The challenge is scheduled for 3 days, correct? Yes, sir. 3 days, 5 environments. Do your best, Deputy. But if things become dangerous, withdraw. That's an order. After the call ended, Jiho sat quietly, thinking about his grandmother. She had lived 80 years in the mountains, experiencing blizzards, floods, droughts, all the challenges Earth could throw at her. She had taught him that humans survived not because they were the strongest, but because they noticed things, adapted, and planned ahead. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. It was Da-hyun. It's time, she said. The biodome is ready. The biodome entrance was crowded with alien spectators. 6 competitors stood in a line, 5 massive aliens and 1 small human. Ambassador Tholos towered over everyone, his 4 arms folded in a gesture of confidence. Remember, Da-hyun whispered to Jiho, these species evolved without seasons, with few predators, and with stable food supplies. They never had to develop the survival instincts humans take for granted. Mektari official stepped forward. The challenge will test survival skills in 5 environments. Each zone must be crossed to reach the next. Participants may not help each other. Anyone who calls for extraction will be removed and disqualified. Jiho looked up at his competitors. They looked strong, tough, and confident. But none of them had been raised by a grandmother who taught them how to survive Earth's harsh conditions. The challenge begins in 30 seconds, announced the official. May the most adaptable species prevail. As the massive doors to the biodome slid open, Jiho took a deep breath. The first environment was visible, a dense jungle with high humidity. Several aliens looked uncomfortable already. Jiho smiled slightly. This was what Earth had prepared humans for over millions of years, adapting to changing environments, overcoming challenges, surviving against the odds. The signal sounded, and the challenge began. Ambassador Tholos strode confidently into the jungle, barely glancing at the small human beside him. Jiho stepped forward, his eyes already scanning the foliage, identifying the earth plants he had requested. There, at the edge of the path, a cluster of what looked like ordinary berries to the aliens, but which Jiho recognized as a natural insect repellent. He reached down and crushed some between his fingers, rubbing the juice on his exposed skin. The aliens watched with confusion. "What is the human doing?" one asked. "Adapting," Jiho answered simply and walked into the jungle. Park Jiho stared at his reflection in the shiny metal wall of the elevator. His navy blue diplomatic uniform looked too big on his small frame. At 5 feet 6 inches, he was short even by human standards. Compared to the giant aliens on Concordat, Central Station, he felt like a child. The elevator announced its arrival at the diplomatic wing with a soft chime. Jiho took a deep breath and stepped out. Today was supposed to be routine. He would take notes while Ambassador Lee handled the negotiations. But a call 30 minutes ago had changed everything. Ambassador Lee has fallen ill with space flu. Station Medical had informed him. The negotiations cannot be postponed. You will have to take his place. Jiho walked quickly down the wide corridor. Aliens of various species moved aside, some looking down at him with curiosity, others with barely hidden amusement. Most stood at least 8 feet tall. A Vrul diplomat passed by, its gray, scaly skin and 4 arms making it look like a walking monument. The meeting room doors loomed ahead, 12 feet tall to accommodate the larger species. Jiho's comm device beeped with a message from Earth Command. Do not make any binding agreements. Buy time until Ambassador Lee recovers. Jiho squared his shoulders and pressed his palm against the door scanner. The massive doors slid open, with a hiss. Inside, representatives from 10 alien species sat around an oval table. The empty human seat looked comically large. As Jiho entered, a wave of whispers swept through the room. They sent the small one. A translator device carried a Mektari voice from across the table. Ambassador Tholos of the Vrul rose to his full height, nearly 10 feet tall. His 4 arms were crossed in different positions, showing displeasure in Vrul body language. Where is Ambassador Lee? Tholos asked, his translator making his deep rumbling voice sound flat in human standard. Ambassador Lee is unwell, Jiho replied, climbing onto the chair that was too big for him. I am Park Jiho, Deputy Diplomatic Attaché. I will represent Earth today. More whispers. A Galax representative made a sound like bubbling water, their version of laughter. This meeting concerns trade routes through the Orion Arm, said Tholos. Is Earth so unserious that they send a junior in Ambassador Lee's place? Jiho felt heat rise to his face but kept his expression calm. I am fully authorized to discuss these matters. Earth takes these negotiations very seriously. Tholos looked down at him with 6 yellow eyes. Very well, let us begin. For the next hour, Jiho struggled to keep up as the aliens discussed complex trade agreements. The Concordat had existed for thousands of years before humans reached the stars. They had well-established rules that favored the founding species. The proposed route would cut shipping times to Earth colonies by half, Jiho said, when he could finally speak. It would help our economy grow and benefit trade with all Concordat members. Tholos waved a dismissive hand. The route passes close to Vrul breeding grounds. We cannot risk human ships disturbing our young. Our ships would stay at the agreed distance, Jiho countered. Humans have poor records following space lane restrictions, said a Dendari representative, her flower-like face turning toward him. Your pilots take risks. We have improved our... The matter is decided, Tholos interrupted. The Orion arm route remains closed to regular human traffic. You may apply for special permits on a case-by-case basis. Jiho felt the hopes of Earth's struggling economy slipping away. The colonies needed this trade route. This is unfair, he said, forgetting diplomacy for a moment. You're treating us differently because we're new to space. The room went silent. Then several species began talking at once. The human shows its true nature, said a Pelk observer, antenna twitching. Tholos raised his upper arms for silence. Perhaps the human is right. We are treating them differently. His mouth curved in what Jiho recognized as a smile, but not a friendly one. Because they are different. They come from a simple garden world, with no environmental challenges. They are small, fragile, and new to the stars. Earth is not a simple garden world, Jiho said firmly. Our planet has shaped us to be adaptable and resilient. This time the laughter was open from several species. Resilient? Tholos scoffed. Your species requires special atmospherics on every station. You cannot survive vacuum exposure for even a minute. Your bones break easily. Your skin tears at the slightest pressure. Physical strength is not the only measure of resilience, Jiho replied. Tholos leaned forward, his massive form casting a shadow over Jiho. Then prove it, tiny human. Show us this resilience you claim. A Mektari delegate raised a limb. I propose a practical demonstration. Our station has a biodome for environmental testing. Perhaps the human would like to demonstrate this adaptability? Jiho saw the trap, but he also saw an opportunity. What kind of demonstration? Tholos and the Mektari exchanged looks. A survival challenge, Tholos said. You and representatives from our species will enter the biodome. We will face different environments. Together, we will see who adapts best. The other delegates murmured in agreement. Some seemed eager to see the human fail. What are the stakes? Jiho asked carefully. If you prove humans have special resilience, we will reconsider the trade route, Tholos said. If you fail, Earth will withdraw its petition for 5 standard years. Jiho knew he should consult Earth Command. This was beyond his authority. But he also knew this might be their only chance. I accept, he said. The meeting ended with details to be arranged for the challenge. As Jiho left the room, his comm device buzzed continuously with urgent messages from Earth Command. In the corridor, he leaned against a wall, suddenly feeling the weight of what he had done. Earth needed that trade route, but he had no survival training. He was a diplomat who grew up in a city, not an explorer. You have made a serious mistake, a soft voice said. Jiho turned to see a human woman approaching. She was tall for a human, with short black hair and eyes that showed concern. I'm Kim Da-hyun, xenobiologist, she said. I overheard what happened. The aliens have set you up to fail. I had no choice, Jiho replied. They weren't going to give us the trade route. Da-hyun shook her head. You don't understand. The biodome can simulate environments from any world in the Concordat. These species evolved on worlds that humans would consider paradise. They don't know what Earth really is. What do you mean? Jiho asked. Da-hyun's expression changed to one of determination. In galactic terms, Earth isn't a garden world. It's what they call a death world. And I think it's time we showed them why. For the first time since entering the meeting, Jiho felt a spark of hope. Can you help me? Da-hyun nodded. Meet me in Lab 7 in 1 hour. We have work to do if we're going to change how the Concordat sees humans. As Da-hyun walked away, Jiho straightened his uniform. Maybe being small wasn't such a disadvantage after all. The aliens had underestimated humans because of their size. Soon they would learn that on Earth, size never determined what survived and what didn't. It was adaptability that mattered, and humans had that in abundance.